Hello, in this video, we're going to review, analyze, and execute our first SQL script. The script we're going to be working with in this course is called My Guitar Shop, and it's going to be located in your course material folder. So go ahead and navigate to course material, and then it's going to be located in the databases folder. So all the scripts for the semester that we'll be working with, at least for now, are located here. If I decide to add additional scripts, I'll put them in this folder. So when we want to install a script, just go ahead and click on the name of the script. And this is going to be it's actually a SQL file. So SQL files have the extension .sql. The file extension is .sql. So when you click on that, it's going to start an automatic download. Now you may not be able to see that the download started on my screen because right now this screen is only recording just part of the screen. And I apologize. I'm hoping this is the last video that I have to make where the entire screen is not being recorded and where I have to jump around from application to application. So at the bottom of my screen, the Create My Guitar Shop script has, it shows that it has been downloaded. So all you're going to do is click on that. And if you don't see it, it's going to be located in your downloads folder. So then you would just navigate there and click on it. So click on Create My Guitar Shop. When you do, the first time that you're clicking on a .sql file, Windows will potentially ask, how do you want to open the file? So I'm going to see if I can navigate to that dialog window. So unfortunately, I cannot navigate to that window. But you'll be asked, how do you want to open the file? And you would just simply say, open it with SQL Server Management Studio. So I need to try to find that, and I'm not seeing that dialog box. So go ahead and select, go ahead and select to open it with SQL Server Management Studio. And that script should open up in SQL Server. So now I'm going to show you my SQL Server screen. So now you should be in SQL Server with that script open. Now do not change your script. Don't come into SQL Server and change anything. Okay, so the script is now open, and again, it's called Create My Guitar Shop. And notice here in this drop-down, this allows you to select which database you're working on. It should say master. Now, a script is sort of like a Hollywood script or a movie script. You read one line at a time, and you just act out, you follow or act out the directions. So we're going to start at the top and read one line at a time. So the very first line says, to use the master database. The master database is a SQL Server database, and it contains information about all the databases that you're going to be storing in SQL Server. So if I drop down databases, you can see I have several. You won't have anything, but I have several databases here. But there's a master table that contains information about the databases. And then we see the word go. Go is called a batch statement. And go just says, go ahead and execute the previous statement or statements. So whichever statements are above go, it's going to go ahead and execute those. Instead of waiting till we get to the end, it's going to go ahead and execute. The next thing we see is it's an if statement, and you should be familiar with if statements. If you're not, it's okay. It's just a conditional statement that says if there's a if there's a database in the master table named My Guitar Shop, then we want to drop it. Drop means remove it from the master, just completely wipe it out and delete it. The reason we're doing this at the beginning is we don't want a situation where if we're coming in here a second or third time or fourth or 100th time, that we already have a My Guitar Shop database existing. So if it exists, we're going to drop it, and all the statements afterwards are going to allow us to build it fresh, from scratch. Next, we're going to say, go ahead and create the database that we're attempting to create. So the database name is My Guitar Shop that we're creating. So create is one of the statements that you're going to be familiar with and using this semester. We can create a database. You can also create tables. You can create other types of objects. Notice again, we're saying go ahead and create it now. So we said go ahead and drop it. I'll go ahead and create it. Because we need to have it created before we can use it. So now we're saying let's use My Guitar Shop, meaning let's point to it. So everything we do after we use it, we're making sure that it's going to occur in My Guitar Shop. Here we're creating our first table, and the create table syntax is fairly simple. And we just say create table and then the table name we want to create. Then we have open and close parentheses, and then everything inside are statements that tell us how to create our table, which columns are going to exist. Columns, also known as attributes. So we're going to have two columns on our categories table, and one is a primary key. A primary key is a key. It's a field that uniquely identifies our record. So here we only have two fields, a category ID and a category name. So we're creating a bunch of tables, a products table, a customers table, a table of addresses, a table of orders, a table of order items, administrators. So we're just creating the table definitions. There's no data on this table at the moment. So if we scroll down, next we see that we're getting ready to actually insert data into our tables. And the first table we created was categories. Now, you can't insert data into the categories table unless the categories table actually exists. So up here, we actually created our tables. So the definitions exist, and now we're going to insert data into each of our tables. Now the insert statement is also fairly simple. You just say insert into, and then the table name you're inserting into, and you list the categories. You list the the columns that you're inserting into. Then you say values, and then you insert each row. So we're inserting 4 rows into our table. So let's back up here. There's a line here that I didn't explain. Here we are telling the SQL Server to, hey, I'd like to insert values, explicit values into an identity column. So an identity column is like the key, the primary key. Normally, so you can set it up where the primary keys will be inserted for you, or you can actually insert them. So when we build our table, we're saying, hey, I want to insert the values. So we're going to insert 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So this is why we have to turn this set identity insert on or off on the table, on each table, when you're initially doing inserts. So you can either do this or you can let SQL insert the values for you. But in this case, this script is saying, permit me to insert explicit, and I misspelled explicit here, explicit values into the identity column. Okay, so it's like a toggle switch. If you turn it on, you better turn it off or your script is going to fail. So when you turn it on, turn it off. So just keep that in mind. So we do the same thing for the products table. We insert all the data. Here we're inserting 10 different rows of the data. And again, we've listed all the columns that are part of the products table. Just like we listed all the columns, we're inserting data for each column of the categories table. Here we're inserting data for each column of the customers table. So the first field is customer ID. We're creating a customer ID of number 1. The second field is email address. So Alan Sherwood Alan.Sherwood@yahoo.com. It's the email address. The password is here. And I believe that's going to be some kind of translated password. It looks like it's encrypted. First name, last name, billing address ID, like which address are we going to, shipping address ID, which one are we going to ship to, and then billing address ID. So as you can see, we're inserting lots of customers. I believe it's 400 and something customers. Yeah, 485. Then we have some addresses here. Lots of addresses also. And some order information. Notice here we have some dates and times. We're casting the date to some kind of, or we're casting some data to an actual date time, data type. So you'll get more familiar with how some of these statements here, like cast. As the semester progresses, we're going to cover things like that. Then we have an order items table, and we have an administrators table. So that's all there is to our script. So when we run this script, and these things here are commented out, so we're not going to worry about them. They should be commented out for you. And then to run our script, again, all we have to click is execute. Now, when you click execute, and it should be successful, this is a tested script. It should run successfully for you. There should be no errors. If we look in the output section of our SQL Server, it pops up on the bottom when you run the script, and it just says messages. If they're all black, that means there were no issues. If you do have errors, you need to look at them and fix them. You don't want to run a script, keep a script out there, or have a database with errors in it. Okay, so as you can see, that it says that all the commands were completed successfully, and it gives us a completion time. Now, how can we trust this? Well, you can refresh. So just find the refresh option in File Explorer. Find the refresh. I'm sorry, the refresh. I was trying to get someone's attention to see if they can quiet the noise in the background that I'm hearing. So the refresh icon here, it may look a little different. It depends on your version of SQL Server. And then just open that database, and you should see your My Guitar Shop database out there. If you don't, just continue to refresh, and you should see it. You may have to expand and contract the databases folder and just keep refreshing. That's kind of a glitchy thing in SQL Server. It doesn't always show up the first time. Okay, so My Guitar Shop has been installed. How do we, what can we do to actually query it? Or to see if it actually ran? Well, we can query a table. So what I've done is I have opened up a new window. So we're finished with this. You should close that window up because you're finished with it. Now I made a change, so I'm going to save it, but you don't need to save it. But actually, you can save it in your SQL Server. Just click Save and note the folder that it's going to be saved to. But it's going to be out there in the Blackboard course also. Now, I'm just going to run a query and just grab everything from the customers table. So let me see, what is that table named? I believe it's customers with an S. And this is just going to select everything from the customers table. And let's see. And I'm actually glad I did this because now I need to drop down and select My Guitar Shop. Customers doesn't exist in the masters database. So if we run it on masters, it's saying, hey, that's an invalid object name. You should select My Guitar Shop, or another way is you can type the word use My Guitar Shop up here. And there's kind of like an IntelliSense feature in SQL Server, and you can see it just popped up and gave me a suggestion. So now when I click execute here, we see that we're getting the output. So our database is installed and we can query it. Okay, thank you.